Okay, so we're in the Gemara, the Daf Yomi portion. This is Daf 20 of Avodah Zarah. I apologize last week. At the end of last week, I stayed up late and I made a whole bunch of videos to catch up, and they all did not have any sound. Don't know what happened, but a little disappointing. So I got to do this one over again as well as other stuff. So let's see. Yeah, so today's the 17th of Tammuz because I'm behind. And I get to tease you with my Hershey t-shirt if you're watching this today. Anyway. At the end of 19, it says, the Gemara asks, from where is this matter that is prohibited to sell a Gentile anything that is attached to the ground? Where is it derived? So Rabbi Yoshi Bar Hanina says, the source is that the verse states, you should not show them you should not show them mercy. So lo tehonam, Deuteronomy 7 verse 2, which is understood as meaning you should not give them a chance to encamp or hanaya camp in to acquire land in Eretz Yisrael. The Gemara asks, this phrase, you should not show them mercy, isn't it necessary to teach that this is what the merciful one is saying? You should not give them favor or hain by praising them? The Gemara answers, if that were so, let the verse say, lo tehonam, with the letter vav, as then it would be evident that this is a form of the root het vav nun, which means favor. What is the reason that the verse instead states, lo tehonam, without the letter vav? Conclude two conclusions from it, that one may not praise them, and also that one may not allow them to acquire land. The Gemara asks, but still, isn't the phrase, you should not show them mercy, necessary to teach the halakha, that this is what the merciful one states? You should not give them an undeserved chinam, a gift. The Gemara answers, if that were so, let the verse say, lo tehinem. What is the reason that it is spelled without the letter yod, as lo tehonam? Learn from it all of these three halachot. So this is also taught in Braita, you should not show them mercy. This teaches that you should not give them a chance to encamp in the land of Eretz Yisrael. Another matter, you should not show them mercy. This indicates that you should not give them favor. Another matter, you should not show them mercy. This teaches that you should not give them an undeserved gift. And Gemara notes, and this issue of an undeserved gift to a Gentile is itself a dispute between Tanaim. As it is taught in Braita, you should not eat of any unslaughtered animal carcass. You may give it to the resident alien who is within your gates, that he may eat it, or you may sell it to a foreigner, for you are a sacred people to the Lord your God. Deuteronomy 14:21. I drive only that is permitted to a resident alien through giving, and to a Gentile through selling. From where do I drive that is permitted to transfer an unslaughtered animal to a resident alien through selling? The verse states, you may give it or you may sell it, meaning that one has the option to do either of these. The Braita continues, from where is it derived that is permitted to a Gentile through giving, and one is not required to sell it to him? The verse states, you may give it, that he may eat it, or you may sell it to a foreigner. Therefore you may say that he may transfer it to both a resident alien and a Gentile, but through giving and through selling. This is the statement of Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yehuda says these matters would be understood as they are written. One may transfer an unslaughtered animal carcass to a resident alien only through giving, and to a Gentile only through selling, as it is prohibited to give an undeserved gift to a Gentile. The Gemara comments, Rabbi Meir is saying, well, as the verse indicates that either method is acceptable. The Gemara explains, and Rabbi Yehuda could have said to you, if it enters your mind to understand the verse in accordance with that which Rabbi Meir says, then let the merciful one write, you may give it to the resident alien who is within your gates, that he may eat it, and you may also sell it to a foreigner. Why do I need the word or between these two options? Learn from it that it comes to teach that the matters are to be understood as they are written. The Gemara asks, and how does Rabbi Meir explain the wording of the verse? The Gemara answers, the word or teaches that one should give precedence to giving. One should give precedence to giving to a resident alien over selling to a Gentile. And Rabbi Yehuda holds that since you are commanded to sustain a resident alien, as it is stated, quote, and he shall live with you, Leviticus 25:35, you are not commanded to sustain a Gentile. There is no need for a verse to teach that one should give precedence to a resident alien. It is taught in Braita, cited earlier. Another matter, you should not show them favor. This teaches that you should not give them favor by praising them. The Gemara notes that this supports the opinion of Rav, as Rav says it is prohibited for a person to say, how beautiful is this Gentile woman. The Gemara raised an objection from Braita. There was an incident involving Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel, who was on a step on the Temple Mount, and he saw a certain Gentile woman who was exceptionally beautiful, and said, how great are your works, O Lord. So, Ma Rabu, Ma Sech Hashem. Psalms 104:24. Rabbi Akiva, too, when he saw the wife of the wicked turner Rufus, he spat, laughed, and cried. He spat because as she was created from a putrid drop. He laughed as he foresaw that she was destined to convert, and he would marry her. He cried as this beauty would ultimately be consumed by dirt. And how would Rav explain the incident involving Rabban Gamliel, who praised the beauty of a Gentile? The Gemara answers, Rabban Gamliel was giving thanks to God for creating such beautiful people rather than praising the Gentile herself. As the Master said, one who sees beautiful or otherwise outstanding creatures recites, blessed be he who has created such in his world. So this is one of the probably unused brachot that are out there, just like, you say one over lightning, thunder, rainbow, when you meet, if you see, significant government dignitaries, significant people that aren't necessarily government, important people, someone who's exceptionally smart, even if they're a Gentile, those kind of things. There's a lot of blessings. So anyway, continuing, but it is permitted to gaze, this is a question. But is it permitted to gaze upon a woman? The Gemara raises an objection from a Braita. The verse states, and you shall keep yourself from every evil thing, Deuteronomy 23:10. This teaches that a person should not gaze upon a beautiful woman even if she is unmarried, and a person should not gaze upon a married woman even if she is ugly. And a person should not gaze upon the colored garments of a woman, and a person should not gaze at a male donkey, at a female donkey, at a pig, at a sow, or at fowl, when they are mating, even if one were full of eyes like the angel of death, Malach HaMavet, and saw from every direction, it is not permitted to look. They said about the Malach HaMavet, the angel of death, that he is entirely full of eyes. When a sick person is about to die, the angel of death stands above his head, with his sword drawn in his hand, and a drop of poison hanging on the edge of the sword. Once the sick person sees him, he trembles, and thereby opens his mouth, and the angel of death throws the drop of poison into his mouth. From this drop of poison, the sick person dies. From it, he putrefies. From his face becomes his face becomes green. Gemara answers, Rabban Gamliel did not intentionally look at the woman. Rather, he was walking around a corner and saw her unexpectedly as they each turned. With regard to a statement in a Braita, nor may one gaze at the colored garments of a woman. Rav Yehuda says that Shmuel says, this is the halacha even if they are spread on a wall, not only when they are being worn. So Rav Papa says, and the prohibition applies only when one knows their owner. Rav said the language of the Braita is also precise, as it teaches, nor may one gaze at the colored garments of a woman, and it does not teach, nor may one gaze at colored garments. Learn from it that the prohibition applies only to garments of one he knows. So Rav Chisda said that statement applies only in the case of old garments, that is, garments that have been worn, but in the case of new garments, we have no problem with it. The reason is that if you do not say so, how can we give a woman's garment before it is worn to a launderer, who the one who prepares new garments for use, knowing that the launderer might look at the garments? The Gemara refutes this proof, but according to your reasoning, your assumption that a launderer is no different from all other men, there's a similar difficulty with that which Rav Yehuda says, if one wishes to mate an animal of one species with an animal of its own species, it is permitted to insert like a brush into a hole. So one could ask here as well, but isn't he looking at the animals as they mate? Rather, he is occupied with his work, and therefore his mind will not entertain sinful thoughts. So too with regard to a launderer, he's occupied with his work, and therefore a launderer differs from other men. The Master said above in the Braita, from this drop of poison of the angel of death, on the angel of death's sword, the sick person dies. The Gemara asks, shall we say that this opinion disagrees with the statement of Shmuel's father? As Shmuel's father says, the angel of death said to me, were I not concerned for human dignity, I would uncover the place of the incision of the slaughter as one does to an animal that is slaughtered. This indicates that the angel of death kills by slaughtering his victims with his sword, not by poisoning them. The Gemara answers, Perhaps that drop of poison cuts the two organs that must be severed in ritual slaughter, the trachea and the esophagus, and thereby slaughters people. The Gemara notes that the continuation of the Baraita, which states that from this drop of poison a corpse putrefies, supports the opinion of Rav Hanina bar Kahana. As Rabbi Hanina bar Kahana says, they say in the school of Rav, one who wishes that his dead relative will not putrefy should turn it on its face immediately as the drop of poison enters through the mouth, and this causes the putrefaction of a corpse. So the Gemara cites another source that interprets the verse cited above. The sages taught in Baraita explaining the verse, and you shall keep yourself from every evil thing. Deuteronomy 23:10, which is immediately followed by the verse, if there be among you any man who is not ritually pure by reason of that which happened to him by night. Deuteronomy 23:11. This teaches that a person should not think impure thoughts by day and thereby come to the impurity of an emission by night. From here, Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair would say, and this is the basis of the book Mesilat Yesharim, the Path of the Just, and there's a whole playlist on this channel where we go through that entire book. It's complete. So this is the path to divine inspiration, which is 1/60th of prophecy. It says, Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair would say, Torah study leads to care in the performance of mitzvot. Care in the performance of mitzvot leads to diligence in their observance. Diligence leads to cleanliness of the soul. Cleanliness of the soul leads to abstention from all evil. So abstention leads to purity in the elimination of all base desires. Purity leads to piety. Piety leads to humility. Humility leads to fear of sin. Fear of sin leads to holiness. Holiness leads to the divine spirit, or divine inspiration. The divine spirit leads to the resurrection of the dead. And piety is greater than all of them, as it is stated, then you did speak in a vision to your pious ones. Psalms 89, verse 20. And this statement disagrees with the opinion of Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi, as Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi says, humility is greater than all of them. As it is stated, the Spirit of God is upon me, because the Lord has anointed me to bring good tidings to the humble. Isaiah 61, verse 1. Since the pious is not stated, but rather the humble, you learn that humility is greater than all of them. And it says piety leads to humility in Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair's statement. So, the Mishnah teaches that one may not sell to a Gentile any item that is attached to the ground. The sages taught one may sell to them a tree on the condition that he cut it down, and the buyer cuts it down. This is the statement of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Meir says one may sell it to them only a tree that has actually been cut down. Similarly, one may sell to them fodder, that is produce that has grown stalks but is not yet ripe, on the condition to cut it down, and he cuts it down. This is the statement of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Meir says one may sell to them only fodder that has been cut down. So too, one may sell to them standing grain on the condition to harvest it, and he harvests it. This is the statement of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Meir says one may sell to them only harvest grain. The Gemara comments, and it is necessary to state the halacha in each of these different scenarios, as had the Baraita taught us the dispute only with regard to a tree, I might have said that it is only in that case that Rabbi Meir says it may be cut down before being sold. The reason is that since a Gentile does not lose out by keeping the tree in the soil, he might keep it in the ground. But in this case of standing grain, since if he keeps it in the ground, he will lose out, one might say that Rabbi Meir concedes to Rabbi Yehuda that it may be sold before being harvested on the condition that the Gentile will harvest it, because the Gentile will not leave the grain in the soil to spoil. And had the Baraita taught us only these two halachot, one might have said that Rabbi Yehuda permits selling these two items on the condition they will be cut down, because the improvement to the tree or grain is not recognizable when it is left in the ground. But in the case of fodder, whose improvement is recognizable as it would continue to grow and ripen if left in the ground, one might say that Rabbi Yehuda concedes to Rabbi Meir that we are concerned that the Gentile will not cut down the fodder, and therefore one may sell it only once it has been cut down. Furthermore, in the Baraita taught us only the dispute in this case of fodder, one might have said that it is merely in this case that Rabbi Meir says it must be cut down before being sold. But with regard to those cases of a tree or standing grain, one might say that he concedes to Rabbi Yehuda that one may sell these items before they are harvested on the condition that the Gentile will harvest them, as there is no recognizable improvement to them if they are left in the ground. Consequently, it is necessary for the dispute to be stated in all three cases. The dilemma was raised before the sages with regard to the sale of large livestock, which is forbidden due to the concern that the Gentile might use them to perform labor. If such livestock are sold on the condition the Gentile will slaughter them, what is the halacha? So the Gemara explains the aspects of the dilemma. There, in the Mishnah, what is the reason that Rabbi Yehuda permits the sale of a tree on the condition the Gentile will cut it down? The reason is that the trees are not in the Gentile's domain, and therefore he is not able to keep them, as the Jews will force him to cut them down. But in the case of large livestock, since the animal stands in the domain of the Gentile, once it is sold, there is a concern that he might keep it and not slaughter it. Or perhaps there is no difference between the cases, and Rabbi Yehuda would permit one to sell even large livestock to a Gentile on the condition that he will slaughter the animals. The Gemara suggests a resolution. Tashma, come in here as it is taught in Braita. One may sell large livestock to a Gentile on the condition that he slaughter it, and he slaughters it. This is the statement of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Meir says, one may sell to a Gentile only a slaughtered animal. And then we start a new Mishnah. So one may not rent a house to a Gentile in Eretz Yisrael, and needless to say, one may not rent fields to them, as explained in the Gemara, and in Syria. So one thing that comes to my mind, and this is kind of stepping away a little bit from the message of the Gemara here, but we're talking about passing animals to Gentiles and stuff like that. So just keep in mind, this is actually an interesting thing. So most people don't realize this, but in Hebrew, the word for the harp is navel, which is like, it's like the carcass of an animal. And just like certain animals are kosher to us or pasul, that we can't have it, or treif, I guess you could say, torn. It's only in a certain set of conditions that is acceptable to us. And I think it's interesting to think of that in the same way with music. I'm going there. So a harp back then was the most important stringed instrument, and it's very important that music also fit into those categories of there's a whole bunch of set of things that could happen to it that would make that navel like pasul. So I think you understand where I'm going. So basically the idea was that the harp was made from the carcass or the body parts of an animal. So sometimes it would be skins that were stretched over a sound reservoir, gut strings that were used. Like today we have metal and nylon and stuff like that that's more common, but and so these things go back though, but it is that same spirituality that is connected with that. So it is very important to actually continue to look at music as if there's the potential that it could be unholy as well as holy, based on those same set of conditions. Like when an animal is shechted appropriately, there's a bracha that's said over it. And we know that music has power, and so like I say, the whole set of conditions that goes into whether the animal, when it's slaughtered, is it kosher, you could kind of, those whole set of things get mirrored into music, because the terms for musical instruments come from the body parts of animals. Like I say, like the harp is like the navel. So anyway, yeah, I think there was one other thing, but it's all right. I'll pass there. So this is the end of DOF 20. So thanks for watching.